Okay, Mrs.?
Yeah.
It's a special Monday show. It's the Porsche Open House.
Yippee!
Roll it, Hal. Hi, Mrs. Ryan.
Hello, hello.
Hello yourself. All right, got it all situated here. We got everybody, got a full house.
Yes, we do.
All right. Welcome back, Mrs. Ryan. Hello, it's Monday.
Yes,
We're not usually here on Mondays.
I know, I'm totally thrown off.
It's as if it's still the weekend because Monday is normally Mrs. Ryan's and my Sunday. But we've got some fella friends in town. We're going to do a show. It's very exciting. So in the meantime, welcome back, everybody. Today is Monday, September 16th, 2019. My name is Jay Ryan. This is Nicole Ryan. We are the Ryans. And welcome back to the old late night playset. Or this may be It's Tonight show. I haven't exactly. Maybe it's Tonight show in the late night playset.
Ooh,
Ray Shaffer and I were just having a conversation.
Oh,
We're having so many issues with the name and the whole thing. And truly, the issues are me and having the long game going forward and being able to align with something and stay aligned with it. Whatever. It is what it is. You all know what we're doing. We're the Ryans. Yay! Just kidding. How you doing, Mrs. Ryan? Welcome back.
Fun. It was a great weekend.
It was a great weekend. We're going to talk all about that today.
I think I'm just a little tight. My body is just trying to
Do you think also
awake.
you're maybe a little tired? I mean, you normally get to lay out by now. You know, call it maybe mid-afternoon on Sunday is when you start to lay down for the weekend, really. You know what I mean? That's kind of the beginning of your recoup time.
Yeah.
And we haven't had it yet.
We have not had it yet, and my job is to figure that out. So I don't like using that as an excuse. So I don't like saying my energy shit because I did so much stuff this weekend because it was awesome.
You're
and
awesome.
Today's awesome. And you're awesome.
And I don't feel that you don't ever do that. You never use it as an excuse. So don't even worry about
I know.
that.
So I'm going to take a nap after we tape.
Good for you. Yeah, that's the plan. That's awesome. With that, the weekend was spectacular. Let's see, where did we left everybody on Thursday. We were headed to Breakfast Club. That was nice, small but very, very nice. Had some great conversations. Mm-hmm. And George was back, the Shark Boy.
I love that he's home.
1 year he has been gone. He left the day after we told the timeline. The day after we told the microphone story, Late Show 25, George Puckaber, Shark Boy, on the old Instagram, he left for we're calling it a rideabout, right? It was like a walkabout type thing, a year-long motorcycle trip on his own, adventure trip. He left here, went down to the southern tip of South America, then went all the way to the northern tip of, really as far out in Alaska as you could go, the furthest tip of North America, and then sort of just skedaddled all around, hitting the other stuff in between.
I followed his Instagram. He posted sometimes. It was incredible.
The stuff he saw, the people he met, absolutely incredible. And what I find very interesting is without a doubt, he came back a different person. What do you think?
Sure.
You agree?
For sure.
Very excited to see what happens with Mr. Shark Boy. But please give him a follow on Instagram because his stuff is amazing. And it's motorcycle adventure stuff. He owns several Porsches, so he's a Porsche guy too. He's going to get back into that. His cars are still in storage and they're in non-operating registration.
Right.
So he's doing all that stuff now. He's figuring out what's going on. So anyway, welcome back, George.
Good to
Then
have you
Mrs.
back,
Ryan,
buddy.
oh my gosh, the weekend's activities. There were so many things. The Rare Shades event we're going to talk about in a few minutes, and the Porsche Concours, Porsche Club of Porsche Club of America, Los Angeles region of the PCA had their Concours at the airport of Santa Monica Airport, Museum of Flying.
Museum of Flying.
Had a great time there too, and as did our guest today, so we'll talk about that. And then we did Malibu and Muffins as well, and oh my goodness, a wonderful evening last night that we'll probably talk about a little bit as well. So we had a very, very busy weekend. Mrs. Ryan, you were out and about really nonstop. In fact, the only thing we didn't end up getting to do was the event because of the heat. There was a Rare Shades specific talk that we'll get into when they're in here. But that was the only thing you couldn't do.
I melt in the heat, and I don't always realize it because I feel cold all the time. So you always are like, you see my eyes go because that happens sometimes first.
It's almost like people are relying on their cell phones for sensors and other things Mrs. Ryan has to rely on me to be her heat sensor and whatever. So, yeah, too hot.
Thanks for keeping me out of the heat, man. When we got home after that, my eyes were like falling, like going in circles. So I'm super grateful.
Also like to say a big thank you to Chester over there at the PCALA. He gave us just a wonderful, actually we gave him, I guess, an interview yesterday, but it was just a delightful conversation. It's always, he's very good at that. He's very good at what he does, and he's very good at making people feel comfortable so that they are able to share some interesting things. And I know that we certainly did, so I look forward to seeing that. And I think our guest did as well. Mrs. Ryan, enough blathering. I think it's time to ask the question that's on everyone's mind. We'll skip right through because we've got Ray. Oh my gosh, we didn't even get to that. I didn't say it. Holy smokes, guys, I'm so sorry. Our guests today are from 000 Magazine, Mr. Pete Stout, and also from Porsche Classic and Porsche North America, Mr. Ray Shaffer is in the house. Our good old friend Ray Shaffer is back. We've been out there talking for the last 45 minutes. so that's why we're already all riled up. Mrs. Ryan, it's time to ask the question that's on everyone's mind. What is going on?
It is no surprise that human immune systems are changing, but just so that everyone can look at something else, just to remind everyone that it's all different now. Dolphins are mirroring our antibiotic resistance. It's being found. So it's all changing. And so no animal, no energy, whatever, can rely on the things that we thought kept us safe. They might actually be doing other stuff. So if you need to look at other things sometimes to figure out yourself, if that helps, it's happening to all of us. So don't rely on antibiotics.
Wow. All right.
That was a mouthful.
I think I know what you're getting at there.
It was a mouthful. Yeah. I think anybody who thinks anything is going to be concrete forever has a rude awakening at some point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? The change is part of it. Things change. I also, everybody wants to be, I want to be safe forever and comfortable. I'm like, yeah, everybody wants that. It's not possible. It's not real. Right. It's an illusion. It's a fantasy.
Right.
So yeah, if you're, when I was a kid, I'm the king of that. When I was a kid, this used to be a blah, blah, blah. Now it's a Walmart. Everything changes. Is what it is.
Thank you for making that succinct. That's really all I got out of that too. Bananas are really helpful. They have magnesium and potassium and stuff.
I love bananas.
They're also yummy. I like making bread out of them. But it is found that you can make tea out of the peels. And that transfers some of the health benefits. And it has the tryptophan that turkey has in it. So it's
I feel like a lot of times the things that we strip away from whatever we eat is the good part. I've always read, like, when you eat like an apple or something like that, like the skin is where all the healthy stuff is. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense. That's what gets the sun, so that's where the vitamin D goes. I mean, there is a lot of sense to be made by that logic. I don't really know.
I've heard both things and, like, how things grow and, like, what you grow things in and, like, it affects all that stuff. But to know that you can use the peels as, like, a health thing at night, sometimes instead of chamomile tea or whatever. Like,
I see.
There's neat ways and properties to use it for health stuff if you like that stuff. And I like bananas. Go to town. Okay. This was so fun for me. There is going to be a contemporary Golden Girls type show coming to Netflix, but the reason I love it, former guest Carol Leifer is behind it.
Oh my goodness, we love Carol Leifer.
Love her.
Love
and
Carol Leifer.
The two other people involved, Jane Lynch and
also wonderful.
Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
So imagine,
I met Cyndi Lauper as a kid. I love Cyndi Lauper. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Jane won a Creative Arts Emmy last night, apparently, for a guest appearance in Mrs. Maisel, that
Congratulations,
show.
Jane Lynch.
Congratulations. So I cannot wait to see what Carol does with Cyndi and Jane.
Can't say enough nice things about Carol Leifer. Carol Leifer was a guest on this show before we had any idea what the hell we were doing.
Yeah.
And she could not have been nicer. I cannot say that enough. She could not have been more gracious, more supportive, more whatever you call it when you're giving advice. And you know what I mean? Just very, very generous. We love you, Carol Leifer. Thank you.
Lots
and can't
of
wait
love.
to watch your new show.
Kudos on this. This is super exciting. And then lastly, I've not been keeping up with the news necessarily of our industry, but some things make sense. This surprised me though. Netflix is won the bid for Seinfeld, and they're going to have it starting 2021.
Why does that surprise you?
Just that it's happening. But
Hulu has it now, right?
Yes.
And it's going to expire. And Comedians in Cars and Jerry's Deal is at Netflix.
It makes logical sense. I didn't realize it was happening.
Gotcha.
But so yes, it's all going that way.
What I hear is another fantastic Seinfeld payday. Bravo to those guys. I mean, it's amazing. The never-ending show that just isn't about anything. It's so good.
That's where Carol's show is going to be Netflix too. So I'm supporting anything Seinfeld Netflix at this point. So that's where it'll be in a couple of years.
And just I hate to be the Netflix bandwagon, but we saw that Dave Chappelle special, and it's very controversial because a lot of the stuff he says. But holy smokes, I am a fan. I loved everything I saw through the way he was saying things. He's trying to educate. He's not poking fun at the thing.
Yeah.
He's showing you all that it's ridiculous to poke fun at the thing.
Yeah.
We're all the same.
Yeah.
We're all different. We're all ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's whatever. I love you, Mrs. Ryan.
Yeah.
Is that the hey?
That's the end.
And that's been What's Going On. Dun, 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 dun. All right, Mrs. Ryan, it is that time. We should take a break. We should get our guests in here. I think we're going to do Ray Schaffer first for a couple minutes, and then Pete Stout will be in here right after.
Awesome.
Taking a quick break. More to come right after this. Ray Schaffer in that chair. See you in a few. Mrs. Ryan's laughing, and that means it is time to come back. Ray Schaffer's on camera. Beautiful. In that case, we are back. Welcome back, Ray Schaffer.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Nicole. It's wonderful to be back.
You.
Ray Schaffer, what's your official title at Porsche? I always say just Ray Schaffer from Porsche, and I feel that may be disrespectful. I don't mean to be.
No, it's not disrespectful. It's such an honor to be associated with such a great company.
Yeah.
Great company of people. Market development manager for Porsche Classic.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's my official title.
And then with, I know your duties are certainly, it seems to be all things Porsche on the East Coast. I know that you do you manage the Heritage Gallery? Do you run the Heritage? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a part of it as well. Looking after the Heritage Gallery.
Your duties?
Part of the duties are you're curating the exhibits that are in the displays, and every 6 months we're changing that up. So yeah, I get to do that. So when I come out to shows like this, and the one that I was at in Chicago on Friday, and you meet folks that have the cars.
Yeah.
And that helps figure out when you're trying to tell a story where to find the machines to do it. And, of course, knowing guys like Pete Stout.
Oh, my gosh.
That helps, too, right?
It's been a wonderful weekend. I can't wait to talk all about that when he gets
so
in
much.
here.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Where are we on Dave Watch?
I forgot to do it. I was going to do it at the end now. All right, let's see. It's very interesting. Thank you for bringing that up, Ray Schaffer. All right, that brings us to Dave Watch 2019. Hi, Mrs. Ryan. We'll bring this back in here. Let's see, Ray Schaffer. I'm not sure where we are. Today is the 16th. Is that right?
That's right. It's
now,
9/16.
Is that a special day?
It's a very special day. We obviously celebrated 914, the 50th anniversary of the 914 model.
I'm going to put an X there because Dave wasn't here on the 914 either.
Okay. But 916 is a very rare version of the 914 that was supposed to be a more upmarket performance model.
Really?
That they made 11 prototypes and decided not to produce the production version of it.
And it's not the 914-6. It's a different car.
No, it's totally called the 916, and Pete was able to get the number one prototype, the number one of the 11, was at the show on Saturday.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty rare.
In answer to your question, there's no new news today, probably, right?
Correct.
Although if there was, we wouldn't know about it. We've been so busy with Porsche stuff.
As far as I know, there's no
okay.
news.
But we've made some wonderful progress. As you know, we have gone all in and trying to get Dave here for obvious reasons, and we've made wonderful progress. We're very lucky to have a lot of people in this industry who know what they're doing supporting us.
Excellent.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody who is one of the I want to say the best, but that's a weird way to address somebody, but one of the best known, most accomplished talent bookers in this business, period. Talent producers is helping us. This person
Right.
has helped this person has booked Dave on other shows successfully. And Dave only has one person on his side. Our person is talking to Dave's person.
Ooh.
So they are having and there are questions going back and forth here and there. So we're being taken a look at, which is huge. And we haven't gotten a Get out of here. So to me, this is going to happen. I don't know when.
That's exciting.
I don't know where. Maybe it's going to be here, or it could be at the PEC. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit as well.
That's right.
Don't know, but it's going to happen. It needs to happen. Universally, it's supposed to happen. This is how the story goes.
That's right.
You know?
Very cool.
So there you go. Thank you for asking about that.
Thank you for informing me.
You've been one of our biggest supporters from the beginning, too. Thank you so much, Ray Schaffer.
You guys do the greatest work.
What's new with you? When was the last time we saw you? It was Lufka Cult, right?
Yeah, we were out. We were here before the show.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're doing this time around is actually following up after the show, after the weekend. So I know the first time we met, which was what, Lufka Cult?
2 years ago.
Yeah, so that was, you had a show where you were talking about the hangover effect after the weekend like that. And now today,
lumber, that was whatever
that's
that
right,
was.
yeah.
Yes.
So today I totally know that feeling as we sit here and talk about this because it has been a whirlwind of a weekend. So much fun. Started for me in Chicago.
But you guys walked in with your A game. Like, how are you able to do that? How are you able to keep it still?
I think it's like you guys. We love what we do.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Fair enough.
That's work.
I cut you off. You started in, where were you, Chicago?
We started in Chicago, went up there, had been invited to do a little speaking at a reception that was set up in honor of a Porsche fellow up there, Karsten, who really inspired Porsche driving and ownership and fun with his group of friends. And unfortunately, they lost him to cancer recently.
Oh.
And so his friends put together this show the second year. Checked It Out Chicago is the name of it. And
I saw that all over social media.
Yeah.
Sure, yes.
Great job. Chris Kluel was there. Chris has done some writing for 000 and Panorama. And I
think he has a podcast as well.
He does. He has Overcrest podcast, which is fun to listen to. You guys should.
And he's a very nice guy. We have we've been exchanging messages. He wants to do the show. It's a matter of when he's in LA.
Excellent. Love it. So we were out there on Thursday night. I've got to visit Napleton Porsche Westmont, which is the Porsche Classic partner out there, and talk to those guys and people there. So passionate.
Was that your first time with them?
Yeah, it was the first time I'd been to the store. I knew them for many years, through the retail side. But first time I was at their beautiful new store. They supported that event as well on Friday night, and so it was fun to be there with them and see the passion that they have around it. Just a great group of people. I probably talked for about an hour, but it was so much fun to be able to talk about the work that's going in with what we're doing, because at Porsche you tend to hear a lot about obviously the new cars. I mean, that's what we sell, the majority of the new cars, and so the marketing and all the R&D and everything that goes into that, you hear about it. But the same amount of work is going in on as I like to say, you hear a lot about electrification with the future, and our world, it's all about carburation. And so, but there's and equally there's a lot of work that goes into that, and people don't really know what that looks like. So I talk about that. And it's obviously for people that have classic Porsches and even the newer ones are fascinated by that, as I am. And so it's a lot of fun to do that. Yeah. So after that was over, we got up on Saturday morning. Fortunately, the weather, the aircraft, and the people working on all that managed to keep everything right on schedule, because by the time I landed here in LAX, I had about an hour to get over to Rare Shades in order to be ready for our event for the afternoon that Pete and his team put together.
I didn't realize that. So when we saw you coming in with our own troubles, you had just arrived yourself.
Walked off the airplane. Yeah, that was real tight. So, and
you probably weren't all that comfortable either.
The rental car was air conditioned, so that was okay. That was fine. So we were getting settled in.
Wow.
Yeah, and we had a great time Saturday afternoon with the panel discussion that was put together all around the 914 anniversary. 914 on 914 plus 50, because the A+D Museum in L.A. did a beautiful job of putting together an exhibit, which folks should go see. I believe it runs through November, and Pete will probably talk about that.
Great.
It's a proof and prototype, which is all about the creation of 000 magazine, which is why I'm here, is to really support the work that they're doing, because in the Porsche community and world, the deep dive, the education and the entertainment, really education, it's entertaining, is a plus.
Well, we're lucky because we love it.
Oh,
we love what we're getting educated.
Yeah, oh, totally. I mean, when that book shows up, and it's like, I hope I have nothing going on this weekend, because there's nothing like sitting.
We've had this conversation.
You know what I mean?
Sitting in one of your favorite chairs with your favorite light on. Sure.
I have a few
you
of
get
those.
lost a little bit.
Yeah. That is. So that was Saturday, and then, of course, we had just a wonderful hangout on Saturday night. Thank you, Alex. And then on Sunday, as you mentioned, it was all about the PCA LA Concours, which we were able to go enjoy. Pete and Alex made sure that I got the California Porsche experience, and Pete, a 5-star Uber driver, if ever there was one, came by and picked me up at the hotel in 79.
Oh, but he's in a 911.
That's his car, yes, but for the Concours, we rode over in Alex's 79 928.
Nice.
And boy, that car's sweet.
So that's the picture you sent me.
Yes.
That was, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I didn't realize that you were literally driving in that car. I thought this is what we saw today.
Magic, what did I say in Instagram this morning? I called it the perfect Magic Porsche ride to the Concours.
Oh, it did have the Porsche. Yeah. That's, my goodness. I don't know whether to save this or not, but I found it kind of interesting. We went to the see if I can unravel this and make some sense of it. The 914 and the mid-century connections, everything we were talking about yesterday, I found it all very interesting. I agree with the Porsche, the whole celebration. Then when somebody brought up the 928 being a representative of a postmodernism.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
I never looked at it that way, and my eyes went,
yeah,
and now all of a sudden I've got a new filter to look at things
And see,
with.
that's what 000 does so well. It's like it makes you look at this, and this is why I think when we've talked about it, they describe it as an art magazine that's whose topic is Porsche.
Yes.
Focused around Porsche. And
I
so
agree with that.
That's what happens is your eyes are open to this angle, and when you dig into a story in there, that's what you discover. And so it's like Pete says, and I hope I'm not taking all of his material, but that's what Pete says here when it's reading the book is like driving a Porsche. Once you get into it and you get going, you don't want it to end.
I love that.
And so that's why you don't mind
our
it.
drives.
That's right. You don't mind a 20 or 30 page feature.
With the exception of when we really have to go to the bathroom. That's about the only time I want that drive to be over. And
It's
even
the
then,
only
I can't
time
wait to go back
notice
out.
that we're doing it because it's just so calm and awesome. Otherwise, that I'm like, don't bother me.
We don't even talk in the car. I'm sorry to take this away, but we don't even talk when we're driving. That's how much we enjoy that experience.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. But then at some point, you're like, ooh, too much coffee.
Yeah.
How fast does this thing go?
What is new over at the PCA Atlanta?
PEC
Atlanta.
We have too many letters.
This is
I
why
know.
this is why I say specifically. This is why I always say Porsche Club of America.
Yeah, I understand. We have a lot of letters floating around out there. It's a big alphabet
Porsche
soup.
Experience Center or One Porsche Drive. How are things over at One Porsche Drive?
Yes, One Porsche Drive. It's going very well. The place it continues to evolve. They had their own celebration on Saturday with 914, and I saw the Instagram pictures from that. Look fabulous. Of course, we have a great exhibit that we were able to put together, again, with help from friends at Auto Atlanta that brought down their collection.
Lovely vehicles.
Oh, amazing, including a 916, the only one ever imported to the United States. That was on the cover of Road and Track in 72 or 73. So
cool.
Yeah, Bill Warner was the photographer.
Education.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, just amazing. It's a small world, big world kind of thing, and there's so many connections, and you guys are discovering this the more you get into it, just who you meet and what you learn.
I'm finding that from wherever your perspective is, you're the cog, and there's all these different spokes in the whole bit. No matter where you go, it happens again.
Well,
we got to the end of that thing.
Yeah.
We got to that.
Mm-hmm. Look at last night.
I guess that's life, but for some reason.
I think last night is a great example. You were talking about being at the event last night, the discussion about the 914 mid-century modern design. Yeah.
Lovely.
But who did you see there, right? Some of your friends and previous guests.
Former guests, yeah. Jeff Swart was there. Freeman Thomas was there. I'm trying to think. There were so many people there. G.I. Jen was there from
PCLA.
And as well as Eric.
Right.
The
Motorsport
shop manager.
Yeah.
There's so many people. TJ, of course.
Yeah. And you know Eric, his mom and dad, Vic and Barbara, they talk about a heritage and history of motorsport.
I don't know any of it. See what I mean? This is amazing.
This
is amazing.
so much.
You need to get Eric on here, and then you need to get Vic in here.
I used to read everything, and now that I have conversations with people, that it's almost like the conversation knowledge is rewriting all of my old read knowledge.
Yeah.
So I don't trust it anymore, and I'm chucking it little by little.
Yep.
So even if I used to have that information, I'm getting it firsthand or secondhand nowadays, and I'm rewriting my own. Does that make any sense?
It does.
Okay. So forgive me. It's not that I have a lack of interest in these people or these stories. I'm super interested.
No, and you guys are doing.
I'd rather hear you tell me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You're doing such a great job of bringing the community together, though, in this format, because we can log in on YouTube and watch the show and get caught up with what folks are doing. And I love it.
With that part.
Oh, totally. Love it.
That's the best part.
Any new art or chair news for you personally, Ray Schaffer?
I've moved the furniture around recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
To me, that's a big deal. That's a refresh.
In a big way. In fact, I've gotten rid of, to do it, I wanted to completely change everything. But the cable outlet is only on one part of the wall, and I didn't want the TV over there anymore. So I've gotten rid of cable.
Good for you. That was the
Yep.
solution.
That's the
what I
solution.
do. Whenever there's
Yep.
something I'm not sure, I don't
awesome.
yank it.
Yep, that's right.
Congratulations.
So, because I've got a few chairs, so I have to move them around, keep it
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
If you've got an Apple TV these days, that's all you need anyway.
That's right.
That's
yeah,
it.
that's it.
That's exciting.
So that's what's going on in the home front there, getting ready to do a drive with the 964 when I get back home on Wednesday.
With a newly rebuilt motor done by Porsche Classic,
Restored.
correct?
Yeah, so it looks like new, runs like new. I can't wait to try it out.
Have you not driven? You
I
broke
put
it in, right?
Yeah, I've got the break-in miles on it, so the RPM keeps going up more and more with it. Yeah.
How was that? You've got this car that you've been driving yourself for a long, long time, and then all of a sudden...
It's new again.
Yeah, which is great, but now I have to be... some restraint. Some restraint comes in.
Well, it's interesting. I've been without it for about a year, and so I've done some drives recently in the Boxster S PDK, which is the company car right now, and that's a phenomenal car. Absolutely phenomenal. Then I get back into the 964, and I remember, oh yeah, this is a lot of work. It's like a core workout, trying to hold yourself as you're moving around the mountain corners and everything. But it's so much fun. It's just a unique experience. One of the reasons why I don't really like to modify period cars beyond the period too much, because it's all about that experience. If you want something modified, for me personally, I know everybody has a different preference.
That.
I'll just go to a newer car because they're so much better. I mean, you realize everything with the older cars, we did evolve that and make it better, and we did that to get to this point.
Yeah.
So I just enjoy everything about the different eras.
If you had a 356, would you go so far as to keep the drums, or would you switch? I mean, is it that kind of thing?
Well,
like
safety.
Sometimes
safety.
That's where I make the concessions of, okay, well,
for sure.
Belts and disc brakes.
Well, we do it in product development. You look at the airbag sensor that we just reissued for the 964s. And it used to be that this little wire plug-in piece for the airbag sensor had a mechanical piece in it that would basically, it was like a trigger.
Okay.
And that was what was originally in the car. Well, now we have to remake them because the supply has gone out. So you remake it. Now you can do it all electronically. So we make a part that looks just like the original. You can't tell, but on the inside is electronics instead of a little trigger.
Wow.
And so its ability to perform, and especially over a long period of time, is greatly improved. So yeah, in that case, absolutely.
I agree with that. I remember when we share the DeLorean love. You owned one too, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, all right. So we share that love. You did all the modern relays and the LEDs.
And that car
like
was
that,
perfect.
Right?
I mean, that car never...
Same here.
Yeah, it was perfect for me. And then when our friend Ramsey Potts purchased it from me...
Hang on. Did I know that?
I didn't.
Did you
So
not know
Ramsey's DeLorean is your DeLorean?
That's it.
I didn't know.
We
What
both
year did
regret
you have?
selling that car.
What year did you have? What was it?
It was a 82. It was one. It was the last. It was the last month of production before they went into bankruptcy, and so
Before
it was
the
still
83s later, which were still just reissues. So you probably had a flat hood.
Yep.
Total flat hood. Wow. Not to make it all about DeLoreans.
We could at some point.
There's so much stuff to talk about with our friend. I'm thinking that maybe if it's all right with you,
Yeah.
if there's anything else we...
Just one thing I want to
Yes,
do, if I
please.
could. So you'd ask me what's up with the PEC
Yes.
and kind of what's going on and everything. So I'll make that real easy for you. Here is the latest issue, a complimentary copy that you can get at your Porsche Classic partner or authorized dealer while supplies last.
This is issue... Oh, what?
This is issue number 5, the blue.
Isn't it a two-handed thing? That's what I was always told. Doesn't that matter? Or does it not matter?
You had to tell me the story about that because I'm afraid I'm not familiar with the two-handed.
Somebody told me. I thought you told me that. It's supposed to be given with two hands? Is that
It's
a crock of crap that they
it's supposed
sold
to
us
be-
at the Porsche tent?
It's supposed to be complimentary, but it is.
Oh.
It is.
Well, I love it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
you so much.
Complete your collection there, but make sure you read it. There's some really good stories in there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I know you
All
like
right.
to read.
Ray
Yeah.
Schaffer, let us take a quick break. Right, Mrs. Ryan? You good? And then we're going to get Pete Stout in here. Okay?
Love it.
From 000 Magazine.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the weekend and the 914 and pretty much everything.
Let's do it.
All right, fantastic. More to come right after this with Pete Stout. He'll be in that chair. Ray will be in that chair. We'll figure it out. More to come right after this. Yes, still married to Marlon Thomas.
Does it tell you that you're an old soul? Do you get that
Yes,
a lot?
Yeah.
every time I speak to somebody who knows what it is. No joke. And with that, we are back with Pete Stout and Ray Schaffer. Welcome back, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Or yes,
Awesome
I
to be
guess
back.
welcome here, Pete Stout.
Yeah.
Thank
Yes.
you for being here. Oh my goodness. I feel like I know you already, even though we only met the other day.
Yeah, but 2 days ago, I think.
Yeah, but we spent enough time together, and we've got enough kindred conversations.
It's been a good
The
weekend.
bond has been established.
The heat fostered that, and that's kind of contrarian, actually, I'd say.
It worked out.
It was
worked
warm
out.
on Saturday.
It worked out. It all worked out.
But the fog was nice last night.
Welcome into town. You're no stranger to Los Angeles, but this is new, so thank you
Yes,
for doing our little
thanks.
show. We appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me on the show. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I think that you have a lot in common with us and our viewers and listeners, so I'm hoping to have a little bit of Porsche talk today.
I was going
Little
to ask,
bit.
what did you think that might be in common? But
Do you think it may be just a little bit of these P cars that everybody loves so much?
it could be.
What? I don't know where to start with you. I know the contemporary Pete Stout. What were you like as a kid?
Define kid. Where are we
How
talking
about high
about?
school? Like
High school.
Middle school, high school.
Middle school, high
The
school.
defining
I was
years.
car nut first. Just
Were you
another car.
always?
Oh, deep
Well,
car
actually, I
nut.
learned a little bit of that last night.
Yeah, deep car nut.
Your first car was a...
was a 914. Was a 914. It was. It had been violated here in Los Angeles, and my brother had brought it down to Cal Poly Pomona for one semester, and the car ended up with no clutch, a dead taillight had been kicked in, and then the door had been kicked in, and sort of I had the choice of that or a Rabbit diesel for my first car, and I wanted the Rabbit.
I was going to say, I actually liked the Rabbits.
Oh, I was very into A1 GTIs. I was
Okay.
deep into the VW and Porsche culture, and I used to go to a little place called Dave's Smoke Shop in Berkeley, right off Telegraph, and I would read Excellence on the stand, or if it had 914 content, later I would buy it. But really, I was more into VWs, hot VWs.
But
and
you're
things.
born and raised up in North Cal?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, El Cerrito, a town no one knows where it is, so I usually just say Berkeley, and then they look at me funny.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, so, and if they don't know where Berkeley is, I just say San Francisco, and you get some funny looks there too. It's but as you guys know, California can get you some funny looks. So, and rightly so. But I would go to this little place called Dave's Smoke Shop, and I'd read European car, and before that VW Porsche, and I wanted to hot rod that Rabbit diesel, but it blew up about 6 months before the zone of me being able to pick a car. So I got stuck with the 914. And the
that's
deal,
funny.
Yeah. The deal was if I could pay for the maintenance, pay for the fuel, pay for the insurance, I could drive that car. And so any 16-year-old just wants wheels. So that's where the thing began.
We've talked about this on the show a lot, but my first Porsche was a 944 Turbo, which is cool now. But it was not a 911 is all it was in everyone else's eyes. So I was so proud and happy to have this thing, and I just got shredded by everybody who I respected, who I wanted to get their approval from.
My classmates shredded me all the time. I mean, when I drove that car, I had kind of a surreal moment last night when we had some of the folks we had in a talk. We had Mark Hadaoui, we had Freeman Thomas, we had all these folks speaking. Francis Anderton, Carrie Morris, and Jeff Zwartz in the audience.
Yeah. Sitting
And
silently.
in this incredible space, and it was in a celebration of a car that earned me Hooptiest Car Award in my senior yearbook. I was voted Hooptiest Car. So if you want to know about who was I in high school, junior high, I was in the back of the yearbook as Hooptiest Car with my 73 914, and no one loved that car but me.
Okay, fine. But the reason we were having that conversation was because you had come to the realization, and the rest of us agreed with you, that it has become the 914's time.
I think it has finally at 50 years. I mean, the people who drove them and who raced them and who autocrossed them, they got it.
Yeah. There were only race cars where I grew up. That's all they were. They were up at Lime Rock or rotting out in someone's yard.
Right.
They weren't anywhere else.
Right,
No in
exactly.
between.
Exactly. And but even back then I didn't get it. I kind of thought, the 911 is the one to have, and this is just what I have, what I can have. And I mean,
The kid's 911.
I kept that car on the road on a shoestring, working at Costco wholesale by night, and digging through used parts at Easy in Emeryville. And it was this guy, Jim Brazil, who opened a shop mining crashed and wrecked and dead Porsches for parts long before anybody else was seeing the value in those cars.
Wow.
And so a lot of the long hood 911s that we see today, when those were $6,000 or $12,000 cars, the people who were dedicated to keeping them on the road, they couldn't afford parts at the dealer.
Right.
So they would go to Jim. And what was crazy was you also had all these investment bankers and all of these executives from San Francisco. And then you had me in there as a 16 or 17-year-old kid digging around right next to him in the shelves. We were both, fighting over headlight switches and,
The
or
great
helping each
equalizer.
other out.
The great
Or
equalizer.
helping each other out. So that's kind of.
Would you? Like, oh, you're looking for this part? Oh, I found one
Oh,
over
it
here.
was absolutely community back
I
then.
love that.
Without
I
question.
love that.
Without question. And some of.
That's sort of the hippie element and the California dreaming element of it all.
Without question. And without the Easy, I'm not sure I'd be doing what I'm doing today. Because it was really one of my life mentors.
Formed you.
Was a guy named Ernie King, who would go to Easy and went to this 914 meet. And after high school, I drove down to Cambria and for this meet and greet and hang out. And a silver 914-6 pulled out, because I had a 4-cylinder car.
Okay.
And the silver 914-6 pulls up with flares and 17-inch wheels and a 3.6-liter engine. But more than that, I saw from the second floor, I said, that car just has the look. Who is that? And I met him, and I ended up writing the first article I ever had published in a newsstand book on that car. But Ernie and I still have lunch, I'd say, once or twice a month.
Wow.
And he's become a life mentor. He's, I guess, about 30 years older than me, and we're like brothers now. And it's just, he has remarkably enriched my life, and it all comes out of this goofy, you can say that cars aren't important. You can say that our passion is kind of a goofy passion, but I would argue, well, what passions aren't?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then I look at these markers and the way that a simple little car can change your path.
Mm-hmm.
You're very interesting.
Well, I don't know about that. We'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm finding a lot of parallels here with my own life, of my own tinkering with things and whatever I found interesting, and not really following the beaten path, just kind of staying wherever I was stimulated.
Mm-hmm.
And you strike me as maybe somebody who might be a little bit similar in that.
But you get it. It has its blind spots too, as I'm sure we can speak about.
Yes.
You start to wonder a little bit of Thoreau, who owns who here? Do I own the car? Does the car own me?
Yeah.
Especially if you keep it for 30 years. I'm really not old enough when I think about it to have had a car for 30 years.
Right.
But here's this car I've had for 30 years. Other Porsches have come and gone, and that's been the one that's.
It's amazing that you still have it.
Did you ever think at some point did it ever look like you might have to move it on?
At one
That's a great
moment,
question.
there was one moment, and it was when I met my wife, Rebecca, but then was not my wife, and I realized I need to buy a wedding ring. And it was clear as day as a realization. I thought I kind of had this whole plan of, and I'd heard so much advice about you must wait 1 year and it must be all these things.
2 months salary
check
and all this stuff. Learn
all
about the Ks.
Yeah, and you have to go through a certain amount of life horrors with this person and see how they deal with everything. And I think it was about 3 or 4 months into dating. It was like a lightning bolt. It's like, oh, you need to go get a wedding ring.
Whoa.
It was just that simple. And I had my first 911. I had bought a 79 SC from a friend. I was on the hunt for a 968, and I couldn't find a good 968 coupe with MO30 suspension. So I was looking for one.
I love the
And
968, by the way.
oh, I do too.
It was while I had my 944. I was coveting the 968.
Exactly,
Of course, yeah.
exactly. So they made like 2.5 of those for the U.S. with 6-speed and MO30. They made very few of those
2.5.
cars. They made very few of those
2
cars.
official, 1 gray market. Got it.
And so I couldn't find one. And a friend, Johannes van Overbeck, a racer, called and said, hey, do you know anybody who wants this great 911 SC? And I said, well, what's the price? And he said $16,000. And I thought, that's about roughly where I was looking at for a 968 back then. And I thought, I think it's time to have a 911. So I bought this 911, and I think only a few months later, and it was an ideal 911. It was silver black, right everything,
German
right
proper.
Fuchs. It was just,
Yeah.
the car was really right. And it was just a looker. And it drove great engine. I mean, it was a great first 911. But when the lightning bolt came, I realized I need to go get a wedding ring.
Yeah.
And I also don't want to have 2 old Porsches in my first year of marriage. I think I'd rather get to know my wife than my Breakmaster cylinders and like all kinds of what other things are coming that I'm not be working on.
This is not rational thought. This must be some other channel, because every other guy is like, more cars. Let's just do it.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I would say they're, well, no, I'm not going to say they're smarter, because it was a good decision. But one of the cars had to go. And
it wouldn't be the one your first car. Why would you get rid of that?
Well, actually, but that's the thing. Back then, a lot of 914 people, you wanted to upgrade to the 911.
Well, that's what I mean. You wouldn't, and plus, it was your first car. I mean, there's an attachment there.
But the way I approached it was, was maybe more rational. I kind of looked at it and I said, okay, the 911's worth more.
You can make more money on
And that's going to help set us up on the right
course.
path for
I
marriage.
see.
But then also, the one that really drove it home was I can always go find another 911 that's nice because people take care of 911s. But finding a 914 like mine, which was a pretty good one,
You'll have to do all the work over again.
that's trickier. And then I added in the idea of that one special to me. But it wasn't 30 years ago back then. It was more like 15 years ago as in the economy of this. So I got rid of the 911, and I'm really glad I did.
Yeah.
And I'm also really glad I got rid of the 911 to get that wedding ring.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
That worked out.
So that was 2002, 2003, and no regrets. You can always find another 911. You can always find a 914 too. But
Look at you. You're adorable.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Porsche couples.
It's
So it's the Porsche
really a
wife,
thing.
the Porsche wife thing. Porsche wife, Porsche life, the whole thing. And it's not just the happiness. I mean, like, I didn't get bit by the bug. We got bit by the bug. It's kind of an interesting thing.
So how
I
did
don't
that
know if
work?
that's for everybody.
But at the same time, you got bit by the bug.
No, it was me. But because of everything that we were... No, because I had it in me from when I was a kid already.
Yeah.
This is when you were driving the DeLorean.
No, I was never really driving the DeLorean. It was a movie car. That was a prop car. It was the Back to the Future car, really.
Were you
The
involved
Back to the
in that
Future
car?
Yes.
Oh, then you were interesting.
Not for the film, not for the feature films, but since the feature films, yes, I had built one with a friend, and it had been used in everything official for Universal, all of the promo. For a number of years, if you saw the Back to the Future DeLorean, it was our car because the original one was rotting away on the back lot.
And what did you do on that? Like, did you?
I built it. I built it with a buddy of mine, and then I had it. So then they wanted it, so I would rent it.
Is this the one that's at the Peterson, or
No,
is that a different
I got
one?
that restored. That's the original car from the first, second, and third movies. There
Okay.
were 3 cars that were used in all 3. They were just originally the production bought 3. They used 2 and cut 1 up.
Okay. So it got upgraded to Mr. Fusion.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And then it rotted away on the back lot to
That
the
was
point
the-
where there was almost nothing left.
That was the
Wow.
.2 version.
That's right. That's exactly right. Hover conversion.
I love it. I love it. Those cars had a huge impact. you
Me
know?
too.
That movie had a big impact.
Have you seen? By the
Me
way, have you
too.
seen the documentaries? There's a
No.
lot of documentaries out right now. Without a doubt, I think the best one is Tamir Arden's Framing John DeLorean.
Can't wait. Well,
Yeah.
I'm very close
Yeah,
with the
for
family,
sure,
obviously.
for sure.
Catherine, John's daughter, John and Christina's daughter, is one of my all-time best friends. One of my lifelong best friends. She's a just incredible person. We have a very tight bond. She's going to be here when she's in LA. But so I'm a little
I'm gonna
closer
have
to
to
that
tune in for
story
that.
than the average Joe.
Ah, so you were deep in DeLorean. So what?
Yeah.
So how did the Porsche bug kick in?
Uh,
I realize I'm flipping the script.
No, it's
here
okay.
a
Was that
bit, but-
before or
it's,
after?
it's
That's a
wonderful.
good
I love
question.
the banter. We health, life imploded. Everything happened all at once, and we don't talk about it very much, but I had a health scare too, and we weren't really sure what was going on. But we thought for a minute that I might actually check out. And gosh, I wanted to get that 911 again. Wanted to have that 911. Wanted to have that car, the dream car. Never got to it. I was Beamer for a long time in the middle there, hardcore Beamer, and it was one of those you might not get another chance. So we just did it.
And so that was the yellow
We
car?
just started looking. We looked at a bunch. There was a silver one I wanted. There was a blue one that I wanted. We looked at a red one that was really nice.
All
And
997s?
all 997S's. Yep. It
Yep.
was all the same car. I kind of knew what it needed to be a car that that was comfortable for both of us. I would love to have an air-cooled car. It didn't fit this box at this time. And whatever, life just happened, and we were going to look at that blue car, and it was just like Herbie the Love Bug. There was a yellow one tucked in the back, sort of poking out a little bit. "Ooh, choose me. What about me? What about me? Oh, that one hasn't been through service yet. It's not been through the shop. Oh, you don't want that one. That kind of thing.
So you bought it new? No,
No, it was used.
It was used.
this
Where'd you find it?
a place in Laguna Beach called Fisher Imports.
Okay.
And it was just one of those where once we started looking at the car, I was like, oh, well, hang on, that's raced at Lime Rock. Hang on, I raced at Lime. Everything about it sort of became, we didn't want a yellow car, but we did want sunshine and happiness in our lives. And it was
So
not
how's it-
dissimilar
it
to the voice that
represented all,
told you
yeah.
to buy the ring. It was, the voice came in and says, we went home. We left it. We were like, we're not interested in that car. There was things on it we didn't like, the wrong wheels, all sorts of things. And it was not, we were not interested. Went home, that voice, we went back and bought it the next day. Like
That's-
2 days later, whatever.
and
We
that's-
went back and bought it.
How many years ago now?
5?
5 years
Something
ago.
like
And
that,
how many
yeah.
miles have you put on it in 5 years?
40,000 almost.
Love
I
it.
think something like
Love
that.
it.
Yeah.
You know, I think so many people get prevented from buying that 911 because they envision that 911 in a very small box or
Yeah, that's
911
not
shape.
Yeah, that wasn't it for us.
And I think it's really smart on your part to have said, okay, we love the air-cooled cars, but the water-cooled era is what's going to serve our needs. Air conditioning actually works. Modern safety.
Yep.
A lot of these things, comfort for a trip.
Size was an issue for us, like the trip, like you said, having a boot, but also just a car that Jay can stretch out and be his full height in.
Well, and I think the best
on a road
911
trip.
is the one that you put miles on. And so I see a lot of people will skip over a 996 that's in their budget.
Yeah,
or
so
they'll skip over a 997
that's
that's
a
in their
mistake.
budget, and they'll get something that they end up not driving it.
Yeah, I think that's.
And I see it even now where people are buying new ones, and the GT3 has evolved into this extraordinary machine. I was driving one through France, through the old Col de Torini route, and there was snow on either side, and we're on snow tires and a 500-horse 911. And I got through it that day, and we do long test days up in Northern California, 14-hour days up there. And I was cooked after the day in the south of France, and I thought, it was fabulous. I don't smoke, but I almost felt like I needed a cigarette. Like it was pretty incredible that day.
Yeah.
But I drive them now here in California. They're incredible. They're a wild experience. But I see so many people buy GT3s because somebody else told them that's the one that you're supposed to have.
You're supposed to get right.
Whereas I think they'd actually be happier in a Carrera of some sort, and they'd be putting more miles on it.
Agreed.
And in
Fully
the end, each of us only have so many miles left, and so and none of us know what that is. We have no way of knowing whether that's 500 or 500,000 miles. And so I see so many people who aren't taking advantage of what you did, which is saying, get it now and enjoy it now because you don't know what the future holds.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why I love having your sticker on my helmet. I love your hashtag.
Live it while you got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty important. That's what we're all about these days. With the car, the 997 specifically, we still like and celebrate the air-cooled time. So our car is insanely incorrect with the way we have done it. Now, I haven't thrown any bits on from
So
other
you're
time
basically
periods.
so you haven't backdated your 997. Yeah.
Well, is there a way to do that? But I sort of have in the way.
Some of the aesthetics.
Yeah, you said
friend,
it last night. I like to remove things. I will not add a goddamn thing to our car, but I'll take everything off that rattles or doesn't work or isn't necessary or that I think is ridiculous because some marketing guy put it in there. We have no radio. We have no. There's no PASM. We took the PASM out. All of that stuff. There's no center console. The whole. All of that stuff. I mean, I literally had to rip out of the car because we want the open.
Did you do like the 996? The European 996s and the 986s had the floating.
First thing I did with our Boxster.
Yeah, and it tall people especially get rid of that
console
console piece, and then your knee isn't resting up against it.
Also, then you have the feel of a 911
Yeah,
again.
the
with
dash
old
goes
feel.
across.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I yanked the tunnel and the whatever that center binnacle area.
Interesting.
And Nicole, what's your take on all those deletions? What's
I wouldn't have thought to do it because I wouldn't have thought I could have done it.
Right.
Like, it's just not where my head goes. But I love the silence of that car. Like, I love that we don't have a radio. I love that we don't talk. I love that it's like a place of, like, legitimate moving meditation in lifetime. And it's great.
It's funny you say that because we've had this conversation before. I find in our increasingly digital world, I'm looking for elixirs. And I'm finding that I'm looking for things that are contrarian to all of the inputs. We're reached from so many directions, and we're not made, at least it's my belief, we're not made to interact with as many people as social media. I read a fascinating study where it said...
We share this. We are very similar. I can't believe
you're
it.
really only built, humans are really only made to know a certain number of people, and when I saw that number, I don't remember it now, but it was very small. And meanwhile, on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever other orifice, we've got 500 or 1,500 or 200 or 40 friends in each of them, and you have all these messages coming at you from all directions all the time, direct messages, private messages, forums, all these things. And it's wonderful. These are great tools. But on the flip side, I find more and more I want things that push away from that, whether it's a mechanical watch, whether it's
Just a cabin in the woods.
A cabin in the woods. Oh, you know what my cabin in the woods is these days? It's international flights to Europe. It's the only.
That's where you check out.
And everybody's signing on.
Yeah.
To the Wi-Fi, and for me, it's
I've always taken flights as a chance to.
I don't want to be available on the flight because it's very as a dad, as a son, as a husband, as a friend. It's very hard or business when you're in business. It's very hard to find any moments of quiet. And when you talk about cars, where you like the silence of that car, for me it was the eye opener was a Fiat Abarth 500.
And she doesn't mean the silence of the car.
No, I know
the absence of sound except for the car.
Exactly. And
I come from a world, like you're saying, of how many people, and everyone can get to you, and everyone thinks they can, and that's totally fine, and I appreciate it. Except I was in a business where I had to interact with everyone that reached out to me, and I think that took a toll. Like, it's just not, you're not structured to talk to that many people sometimes.
We're not.
So to have that break is so good for my headspace.
Forgive me to jump in here, but this is something we talk about a lot, to the point where I actually developed an app that ended up it doesn't matter. If you've heard of Screen Time on Apple, it's part of their systems now. I developed that called Screen Life, and it's exactly what they put out. We had the intention of trying to make people realize that the screens are, we need the screens, of course, they're not going away, but there's such thing as responsible usage, and et cetera, et cetera. And I came up with the timers and all that stuff with the intention of one day being eaten up by Apple, and then they would put it into their...
That would have been a good
setup. It all happened minus the money part.
The money part. But it's funny because...
But is that important to you? Is that something you...
I absolutely, and I identify with your 997 comment of less, and of you actually like that there's no radio in there. I'm not that hardcore. I do like a radio.
We'll bring a Bluetooth speaker sometimes.
Yeah, there's a romanticism. The romantic part of it, I love the ideas. Oh, they offer radio delete in the GT3. That I'm all about it, and AC delete. But in the end, I like the romance. I'm not so sure I would sign it, because I also love music, and so and I love the production of music, and I like all of the aspects of the background of that, and also I like long trips, and music is a huge thing for long trips.
And with those, that's why we do bring the Bluetooth. We wouldn't be without on the highway. If I may, again, just because you're a very interesting fellow, the music element, you mentioned sort of maybe being an audiophile earlier.
Yeah, I got really excited about these Telefunken mics.
Well, we can talk about that. We are incredibly excited and proud to be like the first Porsche-related sponsorship from the Telefunken name and brand since.
I got to tell you,
please.
As soon as I saw it, I thought 550. And that's quite a ways back.
Fletcher Aviation, Pasadena, California.
That's right. And how cool to make the reconnection.
Just right out here.
It's so cool.
And how cool to make the reconnection here in Southern California.
And you guys did that,
Yeah. So
very proud. Very proud of all of it, and to just be playing a role.
I'm actually actually looking at the logo there instead of your face. That the whole time I'm talking to you, I'm just like staring at that logo. No, I'm kidding.
I'll never be able to look at all these pedestrian shore mics that I've been working with all these years.
We're very lucky. We're very lucky. But it is exciting in that I love and celebrate and appreciate the heritage, and that's certainly what you seem to be all about.
For sure.
So we're bringing it into the modern day.
Okay.
I feel that's sort of a little bit what you're doing with 000 Magazine. You're bringing all of this timeless knowledge into the hands of people who maybe didn't have access previously.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was to do something different than what I had done before. And I'd worked at Excellence Magazine for about 15 years out of college and loved that. I mean, it was an extraordinary opportunity. And I was able to kind of grow up alongside the magazine. That was a little bit wild because Tom Toldrian, the owner, hired me out of college, and I had an internship there for the summer, and had actually gone and had this surgery right before going back to college, and it was a horrible thing, and I felt terrible, and I went and had lunch with him, and I figured he was just going to say thanks for coming this summer and have a nice life, and he said, I'd like to hire you. When you graduate, you have a job if you want it.
That's awesome.
And he had this plan. He said, I'm actually tired of being the editor of Excellence. He owned the company and was the editor, and he said, pardon my pause. I have to think about this. He said, I'm tired of doing this, and so we'll bring you in as the assistant editor for 6 months, and then you'll become the editor. And I was a little bit terrified of that because I was 22 when he laid out these plans. And
That all sounds very official.
he was a little optimistic. It took about a year to get me up to speed, and so at 23, and I think we even kept my name below. I didn't want my name at the top of the masthead yet. I was a little bit scared of that responsibility. But I ended up being there for 15 years and really enjoyed that. And then along came PCA, and it was a time Betty Jo Turner had been the editor of Panorama for 43 years.
Isn't that amazing?
And in that, it's
It is
amazing for
That's
any
amazing
genre.
I was going to say
Any
for anything.
genre.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
She is amazing, and Leonard Turner, her husband, Dr. Leonard Turner, they did a phenomenal job with that book for 43 years. When you think about, they started with Saddle Stitch, which is the staples in the binding, and they took it perfect bound, and they had a tiny budget and a lot of black and white pages. They had a lot of limitations, and they represented so professionally. They gained the respect of Porsche, which is not easy to do, and it was her time to retire, and I had been looking to go more newsstand, and then this kind of contrarian opportunity came along where I realized they have twice the circulation. They're hungry for change. This could be interesting. And I've been able to kind of grow up within excellence and grow as excellence grew.
Yeah.
And so we did that, but with 000, wanted to do something different. Less advertising, effectively no advertising, no newsstand, and no newsstand waste. That really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
Was at excellence in the days up to 07, 09, if you sold 33% on the newsstand, that was considered exceptional.
Wow.
And we sold 40 to 49%. 49% was an outlier. That was one issue, but we were routinely 43, 46%.
Take the waste out of it. It's just bad. It just doesn't.
But that's what's crazy is 40%, let's say, is exceptional on the newsstand. That means 60% of what you create is being recycled, and as we all know, recycling is a dodgy subject all its own. So I liked the idea of Panorama was great because there was no newsstand waste, and I liked the idea of doing something again without that. But also in the midst of all this, my mom had a stroke, and we ended up having to clean out my parents' house of 40 some odd years.
Good grief.
And if you've done that, you realize I thought, how bad can this be? My parents are really clean. They're not hoarders. And what I realized is cleaning out a house that someone's lived in, we become very efficient in how much we hoard. It doesn't look like we're hoarding.
Humans accumulate a lot of stuff, I found.
And we pack every gill. We in our own way, we're evolving, and we keep finding new ways to stuff things into corners.
Yeah.
And I
Efficient
realized
with our California closets.
correct, and basements are faux basements, that have dirt hills under them. And
I grew up with real basements. I don't know what you guys are doing out here.
Okay, so
all these slabs.
Our basements are a little dicey, but and that house was full of stuff. And the hardest part was my mom's passion is floral design, and at a very, very high level, working with museums and different things. And so she had all these props and all these different things that were involved that were made for a lot of these exhibits. And we didn't know what her condition would be in a year.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to make decisions as her children, what should be saved, what should not, what documents mattered. And I realized that everyone has this. Everyone has these documents, these photos, some of these things. And the old model of what I worked with all the ads, prevents you from running a long article. And I wanted to save these documents because they're being thrown away. Children are finding them in shoeboxes of their parents' homes.
Right.
And there's these rich stories, but the kids might not share the passion.
Right.
I appreciated my
Or
mom's
not have the
passion.
attention span for long form, which
Yeah.
is what I run into a lot.
Yeah, that's quite common too. So I wanted to find a way to, how do you eliminate the paper waste of ads in a temporal form and maximize the editorial content? And there's nothing wrong with that model. That model's a proven successful model, but I wanted to try a different model.
Sure.
So that was those were some of the backstory to the thinking about 000.
How many years has it been?
3.
How's it going?
It's going well. We're in 42 countries, which blows my mind.
That's incredible.
Isn't it?
42 countries?
That's amazing.
I didn't know
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, Justin Page, our creative director, did a map at the A+D Museum. It's a video map, and it shows where it started, and it's just 3 dots. Here in Los Angeles, where Alex Pilevsky, or Alexander Polevsky more formally, or Sasha Polevsky, as his true friends know him.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was sitting next to him at the thing, and it was like Sasha, and then you hear the full name, and you're like, oh, pardon me, I had no idea.
We have a lot of fun when I come down in his social circles, because I know him as Alexander or Alex from getting to know him professionally 20 years ago, and he decided to go that way professionally. Mm-hmm. But then I come down to L.A. and see all of his friends, and I'll say, hey, Alex, this and that. Is Pete talking to his imaginary friend over here?
I only see Sasha over there.
Yeah. So I get plenty
Even
of weird
NPR
looks from his
last
friends.
Night, same thing. So funny.
So, this is an intermingling of Alex's groups, and he's deep in the art world, has a phenomenal art appreciation. But you mentioned your BMW passion. Mm-hmm. You really need to at least go have coffee with Alex, because we worked together at Ross Priatos, where Excellence was, and he came back one night. And yes, Alex, I'm telling this story. We had a decision on whether or not we would tell this story the other day. And he would come and go, and he was very efficient in his work. And he drove an E36 M3. And he came into my office one night after work, after everybody had left, and we hadn't interacted yet, really. He was just this guy.
Oh, this is your meeting?
Yeah, for sure. And so around about 1997, 1998, and I just knew him as a guy, another editor in the building, who would come and go like clockwork. And he kind of kept to himself, and he was friendly, but he comes into my office, my tiny office, and sits down, and I think my Mac 2E sounded like it was a wood. No, more than that. It sounded like a lumber yard. Every now and then the hard drive or whatever was in there would go.
I remember those.
And people could hear it on the phone. I mean, a friend from college called, and he's like, "Is that your computer?"
The whole chassis would vibrate. I remember what you're talking about.
And he said, "Is that your computer?" And he was in Prague, and he could hear it. So here comes Alex, and he sits down in the chair, and he says, I really want to get an M6, an older M6, an 80s M6, but I can't decide between 87 and 88. The 87 has leather door tops, and the 88 has good bumpers.
This is a riot.
And I said,
no, it's a riot, because I was going to ask you and I thought nobody in the world would care. I was going to ask you what year was his E36, because I know the differences of the 95 to the 96. He had a 95. So he had the squared setup.
He had a 95. No, he had a 95 with the optional forged, which had wider rear wheels.
That's right.
It's a freak
but
show
that was
car.
The only one. That was the car that worked.
Yeah. And was it diamond black? It was the metallic black of that
so
year.
Funny.
And so he comes and he sits, just plants down unannounced, just sits down, and the first thing out of his mouth is, I want to get an M6, and I can't decide between 87 and 88. Do I get the leather door tops or do I get the good bumpers? And I said out loud, I said, well, you got to get the good bumpers, man. But
that's the right answer, isn't it? I agree.
I think so. But then I like rubber interiors. They like connect with my inner van again and my inner 240 DL wagon from the Berkeley Hills. Like it's just my space.
I get it.
But the inner monologue for me was, wow, this guy's a freak. We're going to get along great. That was my thought. And here 20 years later, some of my best drives have been with this guy, and really he's been a tremendous friend for 20 years.
Wow. You guys had me in stitches the other night with the stories you were telling about your California Melee. And
oh, yeah.
So we won't, probably a story for another time.
Yeah, what was it that you just said?
Had me in stitches.
Well, it wasn't California Melee, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, somebody else told me to ask you about that.
Oh, well. So
Marco from TLG.
Maybe we are going there.
Marco was there.
He was there.
One question I was supposed to ask was, ask about the California Melee.
Yeah, so we decided to go on the Melee, I think it was 97. And 97 or 98 we went, and we took my 914, my first car, and we were ostracized in a 914 because it accepted wax. So the Melee was pretty rough.
Because it's all about it's the opposite of it, right?
Yeah, it was almost a point of pride for this crew that they would find these cars. They'd literally haul them out of dirt lots where their cars were sinking into the earth. And
like the Lemons up,
right?
Oh, yeah, that's the culture. I mean, this is the culture that Lemons really came out of.
Right.
There's, Chris Bonk, Jeff Gazaitis, that
What am
whole
I thinking
crew.
of? But there's a name for that hole. Is it
the Chump Car deal? Is that like
no,
that
the Lemons thing? Does everyone know what I'm talking about?
24 Hours of Lemons.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
That's all Jay Lamb. And Jay Lamb is actually who hired me for the internship.
Here comes that small world thing we were talking about.
Here comes a small world.
Flipped it right over.
Yeah.
Same book.
So Jay Lamb hired me for the internship, and I really wanted to car and drive, road and track, whatever, the big ones, and got nowhere. I think John Phillips from Car and Driver called and said, here kid, the deal is either you go to University of Michigan or UC Riverside, or you're not in the game. Or is it UC Irvine? If you're not going to school at UC Irvine or University of Michigan, you can't come play. It was basically the message. And he's so honest about it. I was in my dorm room dejected, And then Jay Lamb calls. He's like, "Hey, how'd you like to come intern at Sports Car International this summer?" I was like, "Wah, wah, wah." Small time.
Take that, life.
Yeah, exactly. And it was 30 minutes from where I lived, where my parents lived, and so I could do it for the summer. And it proved to be a phenomenal experience because if I'd been a car and driver road and track, I would have been getting gas and washing cars, and that's okay. You earn your stripes. You
Different
put your dues
experience.
in. Right.
Yeah.
But Jay sent me on the Pontiac Grand Prix wide track press launch in
I remember that car.
Mystic,
I remember when it
Connecticut.
I remember that car. I rember this.
Oh yeah, Sound
This
of
is me
Power.
growing up.
Sound of Power. They like tuned it, makes
They
one
made it
noise.
all wide. It was a big deal.
Yeah,
Wide
it just
track.
makes one noise. Oh, whoa, it's all it does. And no matter what RPM you're at, when you step on it, that's the noise it makes. And there's a fabulous video you can find from the 24 Hours Lemons about that noise. Nick Pon and Jay.
We'll show it after.
I just
Yeah, we'll
remember
show-
the car when it was new and the
We
whole
might
thing.
have to show that video to you. But anyways, we got deep into this on Saturday night.
We
So
did.
we started with
Had me in
Porsche, but
stitches.
in the end, we're just car people. And so we showed up in the 914, and we were ostracized, kind of. And it was not an exception, no Concours car or anything, but really, this crew finds the weirdest cars. And it was the early years of Melee. I think there was a rotary RX-3, I guess it was, with primer
Yeah.
everywhere, and they hit a skunk and they duct taped the skunk onto the hood.
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
Nope.
yeah. So So we
At
get
least the trunk, so you don't have to smell
well,
it. Good grief.
and then their favorite lunch stop for that was the Pasta Ranch and Spaghetti Farm.
No.
up
Oh,
in
yeah,
Cloverdale.
Spaghetti
That is
Farm, where they
so- we-
grow pasta.
So we roll in the 914, and this Mazda pulls up next to us, and literally there's a skunk duct taped to the hood. It was a different crowd, and we loved it. It was great. And the second best Alpha Montreal I've ever seen was on that trip. It was an orange Montreal with half primer spots and Campagnolos dumped on a set of 205/55 tires, and it looked incredible. And so I mean, it was just a great crowd. It's like Satan, the shift knobs, and like rancheros with those. You know
Picture
those,
you paint is amazing.
you know when you go over to Germany and there's E30s with those crazy murals on the hoods?
Yeah,
That whole culture.
yeah.
There's a ranchero
South
done
America,
that
too.
way. There's like, yeah, and LA. So it's a ranchero done that way in primer. It's like no gloss, but it's like got murals on the tailgate. It was,
But the ranchero was kind of cool.
and this crew hauled. And I think it was the first year of the Melee because it started as the Dirtbag 500.
Oh, yeah.
But
That at least paints the picture.
But someone died,
Oh,
and so they
God.
kind of went underground for a year and reappeared as the
Rebranded
Melee.
it.
They rebranded
Rebranded
as the Melee to make fun, of course, of the Melee, and that's part of the culture of that.
This is horrible.
And so Alex and I were ostracized the first year, and so the second year, like, we can't bring the 914; it's too nice. So we asked Jay if we could borrow his Alpha, and Jay loaned us a step-nose Julia that was too nice, and we were still on the outside.
These all sound like semi-decent cars.
Oh yeah. The step. Well,
They fixed that though. You guys corrected that the next time.
oh yeah, the third, which is what Ray wanted to know about. The third year, we really sat down and thought about what do we do here? Like, how do we beat a bunch of bad British cars? And Isa Revoltas with very questionable history. One was found from a classified flea market ad long before Craigslist, and it was the ad was Chevy V8 and Barani tires. That was the ad.
Barani wheels.
Yeah,
Oh,
correct.
my God,
And so
Barani
one of the
wheels.
guys, Jeff Gazaitis, calls on it, and another guy had gone out to get it, and they were all in competition with each other. So I think it was Chris Bonk was out there at Antioch or something, way out there.
How do you know this area?
And
This is
so
all where I grew up.
okay, so really, what city did you grow up?
I grew up in Connecticut, in Fairfield County, right outside the city. But I know the whole state.
Okay.
It's tiny.
Okay. So
I grew up in Wilton, Connecticut.
okay, so Bonk goes out to this old elderly couple to buy this Iso Revolta, and it's just shredded. I mean, the thing's been living in a lot in Antioch forever, and out by the John Muir House or something. I mean, it's like I don't know which town it was out there, but it was out there. And he leaves San Francisco, leaves Potrero Hill or wherever Bonk was at the time, and goes out there to get it. And he's out there getting the car because he saw brand new tires. He knew what was up, and he knew that with that engine, I can't remember if it was a Chrysler or a Chevy. What would it have been? A Chrysler? An Isa Revolta?
Did they do both at one point, or was it
I
want to say
remember.
Chevy.
I think you're right. So the elderly couple, the guy's showing him the car, and his wife comes out on the porch and says, it's a telephone, and he says, "Not now, honey. I'm selling this car," and she says, "No, it's not for you. It's for him." And so it's Gazaitis on the phone, his buddy from back in the city, and he's like, "That's my car, like it's mine. I saw it first." And Bonk just hangs up the
Small
phone.
world.
and so we're driving in the Palace of Fine Arts, and this Isa Revolta comes around the corner, and I mean, those things already look kind of angry. They have that weird brow over the headlights, and it's just primer. And I think all he did was put tires on it and tune a little bit, and he was good to go for 1,000 miles. And
my gosh.
He drove the wheels off that thing. If you've ever followed one through a corner, the camber gain both directions, positive and negative, down the side of the car. Like when it's cornering, the wheels are at 45-degree angles effectively.
Tilt, yeah.
So the third year, we thought, how do you beat a bunch of bad British cars? And we thought, you do it with a replica of a British car.
Oh my gosh, this is when they added the spotter planes to the Cannonball Run. Like you guys cracked open a whole new thing.
And this would be where, if you were doing multiple episodes, this is where you would stop.
Yeah, that's right.
Because this
and
is
more.
the cliffhanger, right? Because now you get to the
So here we are, and my girlfriend at the time, her dad had felt bad for a guy in their social circle who was down on his luck and had a VW Bug MGTD, sort of a fake MG.
Really?
And I knew about this, and I said,
Was it the Bug with the body kit deal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, with the full bonnet and you sit in the back.
I mean, they had
seats
Rolls Royces where I was a kid.
right.
It was a Beetle with a Rolls Royce front.
Yeah, so
awful.
I called
Yes.
I called him up and I said, could we borrow that? I knew he wasn't driving it. So like, could we borrow that? And Alex. So I went down to San Jose to get it and drive it up to San Francisco. Alex had a garage out in the avenues in San Francisco where we could keep it. And Alex had one requirement. He said, we're going to have a professional rebuild the brakes. He's like, the only way I'm doing 1,000 miles on that thing is if we know it will stop. And so I go get it in San Jose. I'm driving up 680. It's 60 or 70 miles an hour. And I think the windshield frame was made out of shower rod. It's like some sort of like weird
kit car.
Like aluminum extrusion. And I was looking at that and I was thinking, this is like we
Hot metal.
could die. Like we could definitely die on this thing. And so we get it out. We park it out at his house in the avenues. And it let go. I filled the tank right before I brought it out there. And he got a call from the landlord because the people in the 3 floors above it leaked all 16 gallons out into the into the garage.
Oh, I bet that stinks.
Oh yeah, and that was only the beginning of the fun with that car. So we had their brakes
So what was
rebuilt.
there? Just a leak? You filled it up and there was a leak. So it all just drained right
I
out.
wasn't ready for that. And
Wasn't ready for that.
So
Not been through the shop.
It's like eating too much.
It wasn't a good vote of confidence for the trip. And the car, when you opened the bonnet, which of course went to nowhere. When you opened the bonnet,
Oh right, yeah, of course.
Because the engine's in the back.
Yeah.
Right.
the steering, I didn't notice this until about halfway through the rally, but when you open the bonnet, the steering gear, because they had to lengthen the steering column because you sit in the back seats effectively. Because it's rear engine, but you sit right in front of the rear
Right.
engine. So they had to lengthen the steering column. And what whoever built this one did was they took 4x4s of wood and they notched them and then put U-bolts through them to hold the steering column.
That's the
Yeah.
rack.
with duct tape bushings. So the bushings were just wrapped, a very nicely wrapped piece of duct tape around at each point of the U-bolts. So we drove that thing for and then we dressed up as Germans trying to be British at all times. So we had
that's
pipes.
good. But that's acknowledging what you're doing.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
kind of a nice.
Yeah,
Is that awesome?
Yeah, we got Style Points Award that
Yeah.
year. So we were fully in the group. But
then there's no mystique about it.
It was-
This is what we're doing.
It
Here
was,
you go.
It was the worst car I've ever driven. And at one point, we're coming into, I think it was Mendocino or something. We're freezing, and Alex says, "What does this knob do?" It was below the seat, so I was all, "Do not touch it." And we'd already had to rebuild the shift mechanism en route while everybody was eating, and
Even if that knob is benign,
I
we don't
said-
know how it's
I
set
said,
up.
It
Yeah.
runs. Don't do anything.
Right,
You know?
right.
Think about doing 1,000 miles in this thing.
No, you
on
told me
all
about the steering
curves.
rack. I don't understand it. I
So-
still can't even
Well,
put
he
it
only knew
together.
that halfway through.
Home
that's
Depot
right.
made.
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
I was we were fully committed by the time we realized what the steering gear was really like.
Yeah, I bet.
So So I was like, don't touch. He's like, I'm doing it. So he just reaches down, and it was heat. We didn't know we had a heater. It was like, it was the best.
Opened up the exchanger or something.
But we're going down a curvy section, and just raw fuel fumes. I'm like, dude, do you smell the fuel? And I look over, and he's got his shirt over his face. So we only had a little ways to go yet. And when I stopped at this gas station, I looked at the bonnet with all its vents, and there was all this fumes of fuel with the dirt. And so I just duct taped the cap onto the tank. No more problem.
Sealed.
But I think my favorite moment came in Fairfax, California, almost home. And one of the fake wire wheel hubcaps was rattling.
One of the variety tire hubcaps.
Yeah, exactly. So I just, at the red light in Fairfax, I just reached over and I reached back from the driver's seat and tightened the center cap. No more problem.
Nobody saw.
That was the benefit of sitting in the back seats. You could actually adjust the center caps from the driver's seat.
Ridiculous.
Can't do that in a Porsche.
But how much fun did you have?
We had a good time.
I mean, wasn't it the most fun?
Yeah, and we got some good stories.
Which you will not read about in 000.
You won't.
I was going to say that sort of thing will not be in the magazine.
Probably won't read about that.
There's
in
the
000.
backstage pass to 000.
And curiously, it was our last melee. It was our last melee.
That's amazing.
We did 3 years in a row and then never again after that. So I don't know about that.
You won it. That's why.
Yeah.
You accomplished that.
We have been going almost 50 minutes here. We can certainly go another couple, but I'd like to think about wrapping it up. Is there anything that we should hit on from the 914 event from this weekend?
Yeah,
or
I mean,
anything specifically? I would love to promote 000 even more.
I also brought you a copy. So
Thank you.
You know, it's something that you can have. And
thank you very, very much. Yeah, no, I mean, these things speak for themselves.
But I mean,
your work speaks for itself.
The event was thank you. There's a lot of people at work in that thing. There's a ton of people,
but you're sitting here. You know that.
I'm sitting here, yes.
Okay.
But I mean, 15.
Let's give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, there's Justin Page's creative director is just he's done a phenomenal job with the design of the thing. And Alex, this thing wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Alex choosing to come in on this crazy idea. But I mean,
Sasha.
Sasha. So but there's so many people involved. So many of the photographers you probably both know, and Porsche has been tremendously supportive, which is key because a lot of the documents are with the factory, and the factory's done such a good job. Jens Torner and.
I think, again, that speaks to the work. I love a deep dive. That's one of the reasons that we started doing this show. We were going against the 3-minute model that was going on when we started doing this. So that's one of the things that I think I don't even want to call this a periodical, but this art book, I think hits that maybe you don't get other places. And I'm not trying to say that there's, you know what I mean? There's no bad blood anywhere. I love all of our magazines that we receive.
As do I.
But this is something a little different.
That was the goal. The goal was to add something to the landscape, just as you're doing. And there's all of these different tools out there, and those are good tools. I just wanted to create a different platform so you could go deeper and do a 20-page article on early Fuchs wheels. But
the story for how you got there that you told today, to me, is what makes this everything. It's the human element of what you were going through to make you realize what else was possible out there. And to me, that's how the magic happens.
Well,
so thank you, Pete Stout.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And it's been a crazy ride these 3 years. Never pushed this hard in my life, but it's been a lot of fun and hugely rewarding when we're able to tell some of the stories that I couldn't get to or couldn't tell in the old formats.
That's now you're. This is it.
That's everything.
Here we are. Please don't be a stranger to us. If there's anything we can do for you in the future, if you ever want to come back when you're in town, we're doing this show from the PEC down in.
I look forward to that,
Carson,
which is very cool. You're bringing the entire set with you.
We're going to bring the desk and chairs and this stuff, and they're going to create another set for us.
How cool
there.
is that?
I mean, we'll probably bring elements.
Well, I am amazed by this desk. This is not a desk I would have ever envisioned myself sitting near for any reason.
It's crazy, right? Let alone that it would be here in this little nook inside a condo and inside a little nook of California.
Yeah, and while taping a live show.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's and sitting in this chair with the other chair right next to me. Schaffer here. It's a
Ray
pretty wild
Schaffer.
thing.
Am I forgetting anything? Is there anything that we should hit?
This has been fun. Been a wonderful job and conversation. No, I think it covers it well because we really do, from Porsche Classic standpoint, we always say, like we did on Saturday, we are what we remember. And, of course, the driving experience of the cars speak for themselves when they're properly equipped. And in the case of 000 magazine, the history and heritage that's pulled out from there, I mean, you really are doing great work with that, and we appreciate that.
Well, and I want to say, too, that I appreciate you coming out to California for this weekend's events at the A+D Museum Los Angeles. Ray, you were quick to support that. I know we both have a love of architecture and mid-century architecture in particular. I'd encourage your listeners and viewers to go check out that exhibit. It goes to the end of November. It's really about the birth of a magazine as a design project. And then also that you came out here to support 914 on 914 and to do all these events around architecture and design with that car.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to work with you on it and to see everybody out here in our community. I really love that opportunity, and so thank you for working with us on that as well.
Great. This is the opportunity where we do Billboard. How do we keep up with you both? Let's start Pete Stout. How do people find you on social media?
Well, easiest place to find me is on our Instagram and find our crew. Yes, it's 000 magazine, 000 magazine, the numerals, and then you can easily find us at 000magazine.com.
Awesome. And Mr. Ray Shaffer?
Now, I'm at ray.shaffer on Instagram, but you can find all the information you really want to know at porscheusa.com/classic.
I don't know, Mrs. Ryan. As good as that was, Ray Shaffer, I'm just going to have to add to that and say that.
I know.
If not already, please consider following Ray Shaffer for your backstage pass to all things Porsche Classic, brand heritage, and travel-related material. That's Ray Shaffer. Ray.Shaffer. SHAFFER.
You've done this before.
Every
He's got his own
episode.
follow copy card. We're so proud of him. He does his backstage passes segments for us that are so great. We love them.
I'm always learning from Ray Shaffer over here. He's just kind of the way he goes through life. He has things.
You're very kind. Thank you.
We love you both. We really do. Mrs.
we
Ryan,
love
what's
you.
going on? What do we have tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I don't think we have.
We're off tomorrow.
We're off
tomorrow is finally our Sunday.
You have the beach tomorrow.
Tuesday
right?
will be our. I think it's going to be in bed, shades shut, maybe movies for Mrs. Ryan. She's one of those. I think the restore and the rejuvenate doesn't happen all that easily, so it's almost like seclusion, and then she sort of bolsters back up, and then she comes out of, and she's boop, 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 all the energy's back.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, in that case, we're off tomorrow. Back on Wednesday with Diane Nichols.
Comedian.
Fantastic.
One of Richard's fans.
Beautiful. I love it. And Dave Watch we got to earlier, thanks to Ray Shaffer. So with that, Mrs. Ryan, I love you so very much. Pete Stout and Ray Shaffer, we love you guys so very much. Thank you again for being here. It means the world to both of us. We'll see you guys out there in the Porsche world for sure. Everybody else, we love you. See you at home. No, that's not true. We love everybody at home. I'm not going to see anybody at home. Hang on. Woo! Here we go. I'm coming.
Nope.
We know what you mean.
Love everybody at home. We will see you on Wednesday.
Well done. That's fun.
Oh, that's great. I think that's fine.
That's the point. That's the best
Okay.
story.
All right.
You are a real car person.